Who's watched the documentary Gone Girls, the Long Island serial killer on Netflix? Because you already know we need to talk about episode 1. And of course, I took notes. This all kind of started, or the investigation started May 1st, 2010, with a 911 call. Okay, this call was made from Shannon. Okay, it's like Shannon, but with an A instead of O. Okay, so she calls the police. They got it on the call, okay, saying that people are plotting to kill her. Yeah, okay. And then there's another call from someone that's like, I see a girl running and a man is chasing her. And another call, you can hear her banging on the door, trying to get somebody to let her in. And the woman is like, yeah, I'm not letting her in, but this woman is outside. That would have been me. I'm sorry, Shannon, but that would have, I don't know you, girl. And you can't just be coming to my house in the middle of the night. Anyways, so that happened. There was also a man who did let her in, but he was like, I got to call the cops so the cops can come and help you. And then she went off running. I don't get it because she was calling the cops first, but that's what happened. So what they realize, or start to realize, honey, is that the escorts are answering Craigslist ads and they are disappearing. That's what's happening to everybody who disappeared. Okay, we're gonna find out how many people just a little bit later. Anyways, this was going on in Ocean Park, Long Island. Let's talk about Shannon. There was obscure. Someone said there was an obscure beginning to the night. She left her home on April 30th, 2010, to meet her driver Michael Pack in Manhattan. So she lived in New Jersey. She met him in Manhattan. Mind you, she is like an escort, prostitute type of person. So she's driving around with him to get, her money for the night. Since she worked as an independent escort, that's why she had this driver. So Joe Brewer calls Shannon. He is one of her like longtime clients and says, come out to Long Island. I will make it worth your while. Mind you, the drive is about like an hour and a half for them to get to his house. Okay. So at this point, it's now May 1st. Remember, it was April 30th. Now it's May 1st at 2 a.m. Okay. They go to his house at 2 a.m. Okay. At 4:51 a.m., Joe comes to Michael and says Shannon won't leave. They get to his house. Then, Michael is waiting because that's his job. He's the driver. Joe come out and was like, you need to come get your girl, okay? Michael said she looked paranoid and he was trying to get her to the car to take her home, okay? And then she just took off running. So I'm assuming the second guy that called 911, he was probably chasing after her at that point. You know what I'm saying? It's Michael and her running down the street. So at 5:21, this is when she goes to the neighbor's house and he calls the police. He said he's going to call the police and then she leaves and hides, okay? Michael finds her. She takes off running again. He said he kept looking for her, couldn't find her, and then he went home because he was like, I ain't got time for this. They said Joe Brewer has been reluctant to say what freaked her out in the first place. Because remember, she was on the phone like, they trying to kill me, So police finally came out to speak to Joe and neighbors. They think Michael found her and took her home. They're like, okay, well, case solved. That was an investigation, clearly. So then Mary, her mother, reports Shanna missing, okay? And they laugh at her because of Shannon's profession and basically like, girl, please don't bother us with this nonsense, okay? So then the mom starts talking to the media because the police are not taking her seriously, okay, and looking for her daughter. So she's out there with signs, kind of holding press conferences, things like that. Like, these people are not looking for my child and she is missing, okay? So they finally agreed to look for her 8 months later. So on December 11th, this is when they find remains by the beach. But guess what? It ain't Shanna. Okay. Shanna has like a jaw replacement. So she has a silver jaw in her, like a silver piece in her jawline. So this person did not have that. Okay. So that's how they knew it wasn't her. So now the police are investigating the remains that were found. Okay. They found intact skeletons. Okay. Intact, fully intact. Okay. On December 13th, they go out to check for more evidence and find 3 more bodies intact as well. Okay. And bound in burlap. So all 4 of these bodies, none of them are Shannon. It says they were about 1/10 of a mile away from each other. Okay. They're still trying to gather evidence in the area, but there's not much there. Okay. So they're like, this is crazy. But they do know that the bodies were not murdered at the beach where they were dropped off. They do know that much. Okay. So they searched through missing persons, but they soon realized, okay, these women were probably working women, okay, of the night. So they're not in the database because, again, law enforcement is not taking this seriously. Okay. And this should show y'all got to take this more seriously. Okay. If somebody goes missing, it don't matter their profession. They missing. Okay. So now we get to Norwich, Connecticut. Okay, this is the hometown of one of the missing girls because they're able to identify the bodies through, I think, like DNA and things like that. Anyways, so Maureen went missing in 2007. Okay, again, this is 2010. Her sister said the last time she talked to her, she called needing a ride from New York. Okay, so she's in Connecticut. Like, they're all pretty close, but not enough for me to just, like, it ain't like a hour ride most times, depending on where you are in Connecticut. Okay, but nobody could pick her up. So she was going to take the train. Okay, and that was it. They didn't hear from her ever again. Maureen's friend was on there. They used to hit the stroll together or do this little escort thing together. Okay. And they would stay in touch with each other for safety. She said that her and Maureen went out there, okay, get a little money because Noreen needed it. Maureen needed $3,000 to cover her eviction court. And so she was stressed. So she was like, oh, I really got to make this money. Okay. So Monday, they went out Friday. Whole little weekend and cashing out. Okay. Monday, Sarah left to go back to Connecticut. I guess they were driving. Okay. And Maureen was like, she gonna stay back to make more money because her court case was on Tuesday. So she was like, I gotta get all this money I can for tomorrow. Okay. Because also her son's father was basically threatening to take him away because of this like eviction thing. So she really needs to get this money. And Sarah said that was the last time she saw her as well, was at the hotel when she left. So at this point, Maureen's brother-in-law and brother go to New York to look for her at the hotel and train station. They couldn't find anything. Okay, so at this point, there ain't no GPS. That's what the sister said. It's just them and maps. Okay, so that's all they could go off of. At this point, again, she can't even get Maureen's name in the missing persons database because of her career. A mess. Okay. Sarah gets a call 2 weeks later from a blocked number. Remember, Sarah's her friend that she was out here, working with. Okay. Asking if she knows Maureen. Okay. And that he met her before. The guy says he just saw her in Queens. So Sarah is like, oh my God, because this is, weeks after she's been missing. So she was like, well, call me back from an unblocked number so that I can give your number to the police so you can talk to the police because we need to find her. He ain't called back to this day. Okay. So she was waiting. I was like, girl, you need to go talk to the police about this man. I don't care if the number was blocked or not. You need to tell them that this man called you. Okay. So January 24th, 2011, okay? Weeks after the bodies are found, bodies are now identified. I told you, okay? So it was Melissa Bartholomew. She was last seen July 2009, okay? Megan Waterman, last seen June 2010, okay? Amber Costello, September 2010, and Maureen Barnes, last seen July 2007. Okay. The Suffolk County PD put out that it's only prostitutes and everybody else is safe. Okay. And Shannon's mom is still out there, okay, on the beach every day. And she is like, girl, anybody could get got, okay? And she lets them know this ain't that. She also is trying to get them to investigate it all together, and they're trying to investigate each one of these separately because they still have not found her. So now they start to look at the ladies' phone records. Their phones registered either in Long Island or headed to Long Island. Each one of these ladies, the four. Okay. So Amber left her phone at home along with her ID to head to this job because she would do like phone dates. And then this man offers to give her money to stay overnight. Told her to leave her phone at home. She walked down the street, and that's the last time anybody saw her. Okay. And she normally got like $200 for a call, and he was going to give her $2,500 for this 24-hour date. So she was like, oh, I'm about to make this money. They realized they were communicating with a burner, the police. Okay, all these girls were communicating with a burner, and all the calls came from like Central Long Island or Massapequa Park, Long Island. Okay. They also realized that the first two victims were found in Manhattan and brought to Long Island. So they met this person in Manhattan and then brought to Long Island. Okay. Melissa's sister called by a man from Melissa's phone. So after Melissa went missing, her younger sister, who is in high school, okay, gets called by this man. He was taunting her, called her 7 or 8 times. So the police, they're trying to trace the call of this burner, okay? She was a teenager. She was getting real, like, antsy and all of these things, terrified. And she quit school because it was just too much. She couldn't focus, and, you know, they didn't know when he was going to call. So it was just a constant thing with her and this phone and this man tormenting her, and the police being like, yeah, we're going to keep you in this. So they were able to find out that the calls were coming from Central Manhattan at the time. You know what I'm saying? So this is like middle of the day that she's getting these phone calls. So they assume this person works in Manhattan and lives in Long Island. Again, I told you it's real easy to just take the train. Okay, so they're figuring this person commutes, which a lot of people do. Spring of 2011, the search continues. Okay, the FBI and PD, they merge. And there's multiple police departments. There's the county, the state, and the city. So they're all working together, and there's different cities involved and different counties involved with this, okay? So the FBI profiles him as a white man in his 40s, socially competent but devious. Again, they realized that they were not killed on the beach, but just disposed there. They also said that he could possibly have a family, and clearly the family doesn't know about none of this, okay? Shannon again disappeared May 2010. Her mother is like, if they had gone after and investigated her case, the last two victims could have survived because she went missing before they got killed. In March 2011, they're like, you know what? We're going to do a new search for Shannon. By March 29th, they find more remains on the same stretch of beach. 4 more, and none of them are Shannon. Okay? Then they find 2 more on the beach because a lot of these are like across the street from the beach. Okay. The count is now up to 10, and Shannon is still not found. That was the end of episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2. Child, when I tell you this whole thing, Olivia Benson would have got to the bottom of this. That's all I'm going to say. Let me know. Have y'all watched Gone Girls, the Long Island serial killer? Because when I tell you the police botched this so bad, I'm so mad. Yeah.